Today, I want to walk you through a really good coping strategy that you should be adopting today. First, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie. I'm Long Island's eating disorder specialist, and I post on this channel twice a week all about eating disorders, body image issues, and general mental health. If you're interested in that, definitely click the subscribe button down below. Also, while you're at it, click on my email link in the description below to subscribe to my email list. What you'll get when you subscribe there are weekly newsletters that'll tell you what to expect the next week for my content. And along with it, you'll get resources that I create to go along with many of my videos to help you get the most out of each and every one. A few weeks ago, I had posted a video about how to create a coping box. And that is something I would really recommend for everyone, especially if you struggle with mental health. And today I want to give you something else that you really should be creating to go along and to go in your coping box. And I would even encourage you to make copies of it, and you'll know what I'm talking about in a moment, so that you can really take this anywhere that you are going to be. So something that you'll need to have in order to do this would be an index card. I would encourage you to get a bigger one. I got this pack from the dollar store. It's 4x6, so it's like an average picture size. But I would encourage you, if you can find a bigger one, to get that. If not, you can absolutely use these, or you can just create multiples. So that's absolutely fine as well. What I call these cards are Lifeline cards. This just reminds me with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I don't know if it's still on. I used to watch it when it was Regis who was the host, and they had, oh, do you want to use a Lifeline? So that's where I thought about it, and they probably exist anyway, but this is something that I would highly recommend for you to create, and you'll know why in a moment, and I'll explain a little bit more about why this is the information that you should definitely include on this card after I go through it. So I have a little bit of a template here that I started. Forgive my handwriting, you probably won't be able to read it, which is absolutely okay, because I'm going to provide a template. If you already have gotten my email, you would have seen that I do have a template for this to help you along. Everyone's cards are going to look different, so it's important for you to recognize that and to customize it, because I don't know what you specifically are struggling with, and also you are your own individual person, so figure out what works for you. You can always recreate these cards. The wonderful thing is that you can't buy them in a pack of one, so you can constantly recreate them and do your thing with that. So the first thing that I have here is, if you ever struggle with suicidal thoughts or ideation, I have the suicide hotline up here, at least for the United States. So there's a suicide hotline, there's a suicide crisis text line if you are really struggling to get on the phone. Of course, if you are really struggling with keeping yourself safe, call 911 or whoever the emergency response is for wherever you are. The reason why I suggest that you put this on the Lifeline card is because if you are in a moment that you are extremely suffering with suicidal thoughts or ideation, it's important for you to have easy access to these numbers, because the last thing that you want to do is try to research and get to the number. It's just, if you have it, I'm not saying you won't do that, but if you have it handy, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to do it. Definitely something to put on it. And there's so many amazing hotlines. So if you have any ones that you specifically like for whatever issue you're going through, leave them in the comments down below so that more people can find them and seek them out if they need it. But there's hotlines for eating disorders, for different disorders in general. There are hotlines if you are involved in some sort of online support group. That's going to be helpful as well. Make sure you keep all that contact information at the beginning of the Lifeline card. The next thing that I would encourage you to have on here is a list of people that is in your support network. So right under here, you're going to have who you can talk to. And your therapist may be that, if you are able to access your therapist. If you have a DBT therapist, and they are basically on call. But if you don't, normally, sometimes they'll arrange for an emergency session if you need. But that might be a number that you have on there in case you need. But I would highly encourage you to have other people also, meaning your family, friends, any other people that might be of support, maybe a person that is also in a group that you are in for mental health. Make sure that you include their names as well as the way that you would contact them. So again, you don't want to do more work than you need to when you're already in a compromised state. So make sure you have the number ready to go so you don't have to look it up or, whatever. Most people have their cell phones saved anyway, but just in case, if you're by a house phone and you don't have the number, make it as easy as possible for you. Write it down. The next thing that I would encourage you to have, I put it on this side, but it's warning signs. You need to know what the warning signs are for you, that maybe you'll have a panic attack, or that you're going to have some really strong episode of some sorts, or maybe that you are starting to have more like suicidal thoughts. It's important for you to know what the early warning signs are, because the earlier you catch it, the more you're able to do something about it and to learn how to find ways, or you find ways to cope with it. It'll be easier the earlier on you catch it. So catch the early warning signs. That might be, and it's going to be different for everyone, but maybe you start feeling shaky, or your heart starts racing and you don't really know why, or maybe you start having more and more intrusive thoughts. Maybe you just start to get heated. Find out what it is for you, and also find out if there's any triggers for you that specifically is something kind of leads to an episode each and every time. So write that down as well. The next part, I accidentally put on whatever. So I put the down here is, what can you do? So that's where you want to put whatever coping skills you have, reminders of the coping skills that you have. So here I have journaling, call a friend, read a book, hold ice if you maybe struggle with self-harm, go for a walk, pet your cat, all of those types of things. Whatever the coping is for you, write it down. If you have this everywhere, not necessarily just in your coping box, put a reminder in to go to your coping box, and there's going to be accessible things for you there that'll help you to get through whatever this intense emotion is for you. The last thing that I'm going to recommend that you have on there, and this is just a template. I would encourage you to figure out what it's going to be important, what's going to be more helpful for you to add on to this. But these are things that are key to have on it. But of course, add on whatever you think would be helpful. But the last thing that I have on here would be reminders to yourself. So that might be in the form of quotes. So it might be like kind of inspirational, or it's going to be reminders, because sometimes, I know for me, when I feel anxious, I get very shallow breathing, and that's not helpful. So I have reminders to myself to just breathe. And when you remind yourself, okay, at least you take one deep breath usually when you remind yourself of that, then that's going to be helpful for you. So whatever reminders that you know are going to be helpful for you, use it. And you can recreate these, add on, change them as you change, because we all change and our mental health changes. So to make sure that you have access to a Lifeline card that is going to be helpful for you in the moment that you're in, is going to be really superb. As I said, these Lifeline cards are going to look different for every single person, because everyone struggles differently and everyone has different warning signs. Everyone has different things that work for them in terms of coping. Everyone has different support networks. Everyone has just different things. So make it yours, customize it, share whatever you think would be helpful to add on to your Lifeline card, because maybe other people aren't thinking about it and they can add it to their Lifeline card as well. So definitely leave them in the comments if you have any other suggestions. Also, I want to point out that it might be helpful for you to go further along with this exercise and this tool, and to create cards for different emotions or for different levels of intensity with regards to those emotions. So again, if you have the early warning signs, you might have things that are a little bit lesser. Okay, like I'm in a better mood. I'm not where I'm totally unable to do anything. I'm not paralyzed at this point. So what are things that I might be more able to do in the moment that I'm in a lesser intensity emotion? And that might be more active, like I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go out and run out with my dog, or I'm going to write in my journal. And maybe if you're in a really intense level of emotions, but you're still able to keep yourself safe, that might be grabbing ice and holding on to that. That might be just going and watching something more, or doing something more passive, such as try to put on a movie in the background for a little bit of distraction to get you out of your head a little bit more. Whatever it is, figure out what works for you. And again, make it so that it's constantly evolving with you and with your mental health and with your different levels of intensity. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below about what you would add to your card. You could click my face over here to subscribe to my channel, and I wish you coping on your journey to finding your state of balance, and I will see you in my next video.